Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1644A, and today's date is August 21st, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Global Economy is Overdue for a Disaster, and for many, this will come as a shock. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, let's start off today by talking about cryptocurrencies. And we know that the central banks, they do not like cryptocurrencies. Anything that goes up against their system, they're completely against. I mean, look at the precious metals market. For years upon years, since 1971, when they took the entire currency system off the gold standard, they've been telling us that gold is absolutely worthless. You shouldn't have it. You shouldn't own it. And they've done this throughout the many years, and they've learned how to suppress it. Then all of a sudden, in 2008, cryptocurrencies appeared. And, it was nothing in the beginning, and then started to build, and they realized what cryptocurrencies could be. And they took control over it by dumping a huge amount of cryptocurrencies on the market. First, they purchased a lot, made it seem like everyone was in on it. Then they dumped them later on to bring the price down. I mean, let's think about that for a second. Isn't this what they do in the stock market? Isn't this what they do with every single market? Think about real estate. They pump it up, they bring it down. They pump it up, they bring it down. They pretty much do it to everything. Even the entire economy, they do this. Why? Because it makes people get out of it when they want them to get out of it. They demonize it when they need to demonize it. And this is what we've seen in the past. But countries are looking at this, and they're saying, something? This is a way around the system that we're in. We don't have to deal with the dollar. There's no reason for it. And Turkey right now, they are taking their funds because of all the sanctions and everything else that's going on there, and they're moving their currency into cryptocurrencies. About 18% right now of consumers in Turkey have moved their currency and moved it into cryptocurrency. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start to look at the breakdown of all the other countries, even the U.S., I mean, everyone thought when Bitcoin was going up that everyone owned it. No, it was a very small number of individuals that owned it. But we know that Mt. Gox and many other players, they were buying a lot of it to drive the prices up. Think about how they work the real estate market. How do you drive up prices there? Well, you hold on to all the inventory, which the banks did. You don't foreclose on the houses. You don't put them out on the market. You have hedge funds, investment companies buy up the real estate, hold on to it, rent it if you can, but never sell it. That drives the price up. Stock market. Have a central bank create currency out of thin air and shove it into the stock market to drive it up. That's what the Swiss National Bank has done. The same thing happened with cryptocurrencies. Someone, and we know who it is, the central bank system, the powers that be, purchased a lot of it. Then they dumped it. Only 8% of Americans own cryptocurrencies. And if you look at many of the other countries, it's a lot lower than that. This is the beginning stages. The reason why they did it ahead of time, because they didn't want people to realize what this was all about. They didn't want people to realize that this was an alternative, just like the precious metals market. If you speak to people about gold and silver, they'd be like, I don't want to own that. There's no reason to. And there's a very small population that owns gold and silver. The central bankers do this on purpose. And when you look at it, you can see that this is a prime area to invest in. Why? Well, think about it. The price has already dropped. They already pushed it down. Not a lot of people own it right now. And it's at a very, very low level. And this is actually a great time to invest. I mean, this is my opinion when I'm looking at the cryptocurrency market. I mean, think about the stock market. If stocks come down, is that a good time to invest? Of course. So what we're seeing right now is that many people are starting to get into it, and especially those countries that are in trouble, they are moving their currency that is devaluing, and they're moving it into cryptocurrency, because then you can move it out of the country and you can move it into another currency very easily. And if you want to know more about this, you can go to the X22reportschool.com. This is a link that will bring you over to a website that has a school about cryptocurrencies. It also has a trading room where you can watch traders. This is an entertainment room, and you can watch how to trade, what systems to use. And yes, this does cost money. So if you want to take a look at that, just type in X22reportschool.com, or if you're on the X22report.com site, there are links on the website, and it will bring you right over to that site. Turkey is also looking to join the China's One Belt, One Road system. This is their trade system. And Turkey is a fantastic candidate for the OBOR. Why? Because Turkey connects the European and Asian markets. And it's a conduit to Europe from Asia. And this is something that the Chinese would like, and this is something that they need. And it looks like Turkey is moving in that direction. If you notice, with all these sanctions and everything that's going on, it's forcing countries to move towards China, Russia, to the One Belt, One Road, move away from the dollar. You start to think, is this being done on purpose? Because it's starting to feel that way. How do you destroy a system? Well, you move everyone away from the dollar. You move everyone to another system. You move everyone from everything that the central bankers control. And remember, Russia has taken over their central bank system. That's what's going to be done here in the United States. And to get this done, well, you start moving countries away. You start pushing them away. You start pushing them into cryptocurrencies. You start pushing them into other trade systems. And these countries then move on to the new system, away from the central banking system. And this is where many of the countries are going right now. They're moving away from the dollar. They're dumping treasuries. They're buying gold. And they're moving on to the One Belt, One Road system. Remember, the central bankers, they wanted the TPP system, where they had a court system above the governments of every single country. This is what they were pushing for, and they couldn't get it. We see here in the United States, foreclosures, they have risen for the first time in 36 months, and this is coming from Atom Data Solutions. Now, foreclosures rose from a year ago in 96 of the 219 metropolitan statistical areas, or 44% of the market analyzed in the report. 33 of those areas posted their third straight monthly increase. Metro area postings year-over-year increases in foreclosure starts in July included Los Angeles, California up 20%, Houston, Texas up 76%, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania up 10%, Miami, Florida up 29%, San Francisco up 10%. And what we see here right now is that it's already starting. As interest rates move up, a lot of people are kicked out of the market. Those people that have adjustable rate mortgages or type of mortgages that change with the interest rates, they're going to get into trouble. Those people that were underwater, they're going to stay underwater because the prices are starting to come down. Traffic is going to dry up because once the prices come down, people really don't want to sell because they were hoping to get that high sale price. And now that they're not getting it, why sell right now? Let's hold on to it and we'll wait it out, which means there's a lot less houses on the market, which means there's a lot less traffic. And we're starting to see this right now. We saw this back in 2006 going into 2007, and now we are seeing it because this entire real estate market is one gigantic illusion. As a reminder, housing and not the financial markets or stocks, that has traditionally been the most relevant, aspirational asset for the U.S. middle class, and as such is the best indicator of economic prosperity. Because people invest in their homes. They buy the real estate because later on they were hoping to sell this, make a huge profit from the appreciation, and use this for retirement. So when the prices of homes come down and people go underwater, they can't use this for retirement. Their investment is worthless right now. They can't get their money out of the home, and they're stuck in the home. And this is a very good sign to let us know where everything is moving. Remember, the stock market It's absolutely meaningless. Now, if you read between the lines, you can hear many of the billionaires out there. They are transmitting messages, and they're telling us exactly what is coming. Tesla Motors CEO Elon Musk. We are definitely not going bankrupt. Translation, we are definitely going bankrupt. Tesla is a company that is supposedly worth $51 billion, but the reality is that they are going to zero. They've been bleeding massive amounts of cash for years, and now a day of reckoning has finally arrived. A severe liquidity crunch has forced the company to delay payments or to ask for enormous discounts from suppliers, and many of those suppliers are now concerned that Tesla is on the verge of collapse. Mark Cuban, I've got a whole lot of cash on the sidelines. Translation, I believe that the stock market is about to crash. Mark Cuban, he's not stupid. Like Warren Buffett, he's sitting on giant piles of cash as he waits for stock valuations to return to their long-term averages. And when something happens, Cuban insists that he is ready, willing, and able to make some bold moves. Deutsche Bank, we need our employees to take every opportunity to restrict non-essential travel in order to cut costs. Translation, we are on the verge of a collapse, and we have to save every single penny that we can right now. The biggest bank in Europe, they are teetering on the brink of collapse. And this is the latest move where they need to save money by telling people not to travel. This tells you something. Italian Cabinet Undersecretary, I hope that quantitative easing program will go forward. Translation, if the ECB does not buy our bonds, the Italian financial system is toast. Italy will almost certainly be the fulcrum of the next European financial crisis. And the truth is that the EU will not have enough money to bail Italy out once it collapses. So the Italians desperately need the ECB to continue buying their bonds, and the new Italian government seems to understand this very, very well. We know that from all the indicators, the economic system, the global economic system, it is completely falling apart. Now, according to the Financial Times' Robin Wigglesworth and Nicole Bullock, the U.S. stock market will officially have enjoyed its longest ever bull run, one that rises 20% from its low until it drops 20% from its peak, and September 15th will be the 10th anniversary of the collapse of Lehman Brothers. And we need to understand that this Lehman anniversary should be very sobering for many people, because this shows us that nothing lasts forever. And those who see no Lehman-like episode on the horizon did not see the last one either. And we need to understand the way the central bankers have brainwashed us over the many, many years, where they continually feed us the idea that creating more currency out of thin air helps an economy. Yes, in the short term, it might look that way, but in the long term, it's damaging it like you've never seen before. Think about this. If unlimited borrowing, financed by printing money, were a path to prosperity, then Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Argentina, they would be at the top of their growth tables, because all they'd have to do is continually print. Every country would just continually print. But this is not how the central banking system works. The central banking system works where they create the currency and they loan it to the people with interest attached, which you have to repay. And the interest is always a lot more than the principal. And when you add the principal and the interest, it's completely impossible to pay back, because there's just not enough funds out there to pay it all back. It just can't happen. And what you need to do is you need to continually create more currency, which means you have to create the currency, loan it to the government, and the government continually borrows. This is why we see the borrowing continually happening, and it's getting greater and greater as every day passes. Think about your everyday household. When you're making a certain amount of money, $50,000 a year, let's use that number, you have about 10 different credit cards. Each one is up to the max of about $5,000. That's $50,000. It's even to what you're bringing in. And to add another credit card onto this, it's not going to make you wealthier. It's not going to help your situation. Yes, it might feel that way because you have extra cash to spend, but when that payment comes due, guess what? You're stuck. There's nothing you can do. If you look at the S&P 500 and you look at how many hours you had to work to buy the S&P 500, and you go back in time, in the 70s, the average was about 23.5 hours. The average now is over 100 hours, which tells you something. What we are witnessing right now is the economy reaching that point where it can't go any further. Yes, they might be able to push it along a little bit longer, but eventually what's going to happen, it's going to crack and break. We're already seeing the cracks. We're just waiting for the break. The economy, the global economy, is way overdue for a disaster. The central bankers were planning on a disaster a long time ago, probably a year ago, because we would already be most likely in some type of war, some type of an event where they'd be able to blame what was happening on that event. We don't have that right now. And there's a battle going on between both sides because the central bankers, they know if they're blamed for this, they're done for. Because that means they brought the global economy down. If the countries and the people point the finger at the central banks, they lose. They know this. Trump and the Patriots, they're pretty much doing the same thing. They're pumping up this economy using the same manipulation that was used before, but putting this into overdrive to show the economy's doing very, very well, to try to switch the narrative onto the central banks. Because they know that this economy, it can't go much longer. There's nothing left here. The debt is too high. If we continually add more and more debt and the tax receipts, they aren't increasing, think about it. Think of how many people have part-time jobs. Think about how many people are out of the labor market. Think about how much of the manufacturing has been moved out of the country. Yes, you can bring back 1,000 or 2,000 jobs, but we lost millions. And the factories aren't here. They're broken down buildings with nothing in them. And a lot of them are turned into maybe lofts. So what we're seeing here is both sides driving this economy, and there's no place for the economy to go. And they're both trying to gain the narrative to blame it on each other. And if the central bank wins that narrative, well, it's going to be disaster for the people, and it's going to be a complete shock because they don't care who gets hurt. Trump and the Patriots, well, they have other plans. They're trying to bring back manufacturing. They're trying to bring back the way this country once was. They're trying to switch everything around. Most likely, the U.S. will eventually join the Belt and Road, because if the world has joined the Belt and Road and there's no other system out there, eventually the U.S. will have to join. Yes, we can make bilateral trades, but if the rest of the world is using this system, eventually what's going to happen, the U.S. will have to join. And I believe this is where we're moving towards, because we can see a lot of the countries, they are moving away from the dollar. They're using bilateral trades. They're trading in their national currencies. This has been planned, and they're using this plan not in the way the central bankers want it to be done. They're going to use it to wipe the central bankers out, to take control of them, to take control of the private Western Central Bank and nationalize it. And this is the move, and all the pieces now are being moved into place to make this happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.